Hello, welcome to Coffee with Avila. I'm Aviana Lemaire. Today I'm going to talk about the concept that we can't be normal because we're too weird, and we can't be weird because we're too normal, which is some really lazy terminology, but it's the going terminology and it's often what people use. I watched a video a little earlier with a really well done skit to the point where it was actually kind of triggering for me, with two people communicating, and one person is clearly the autistic party. The plans get changed all of a sudden. It's like you've been planning this for weeks and now you're changing it 30 minutes before it happens. So the Audi gets pretty upset because they've done their research, they've done what they can to bolster their own personal confidence. It's looking up what you're going to run into, how you can take care of yourself and your own particular needs, granting yourself the allowances in life that sometimes life is not allowing you. And then the plans just get changed. It's a group and you're the only one dangling. It's so uncomfortable. And when I watched the video, the other party was what to me is clearly combative, because every time the autist would express, oh, I had time to do this research and you said it was going to be this, so I did all the research to get myself ready, and the person just kept hitting them with something like, I don't remember the exact words, but it was something like, how do I phrase this so I don't upset myself, because it's so close to my own experience and I don't want to upset myself in my own video. But the person kept hitting them with things like, it's not that big of a deal and it's just a change, you know, we can deal with it. So I read into the comments, and there was a very interesting comment in a way where somebody is saying this person is just normal. This is their way of arguing the video. They're saying this person is just normal. It's totally normal. And then they went on to say something that was a little confounding to me to read, but it's very average for a lot of people. The video clearly showed a situation where the autistic character kept saying, I was prepared and now I'm not prepared. I don't know what to do, kind of a thing. And the other person was just, you know, doing the kind of average expected thing, acting like it wasn't a big deal. You're making too big of a deal of it. They might have said that in this video, but in the comment section, the person watched this exchange where the autist is saying, I was prepared and now I don't feel prepared and I don't have time to prepare. There are just a few minutes left. They decided in their own mind, this person is upset because, excuse me, they decided in their own mind that the person in the video was upset. The autist was upset. I'm going to have to edit this video so I can clear my throat. It's been cozy weather for a while, but it's the kind of weather where you start bolstering your personal medicinal things in order to avoid getting sick and to make sure that you're constantly getting better instead of trending back down. So I'm dealing with that, and congestion is an issue right now. But the person in this comment section decided she's upset because she was really looking forward to pizza. They said this is not a real problem. This is a normal situation. And the way to fix it would have been, okay, I know you're really looking forward to pizza, but why don't we get it another day instead of today? And they were like, well, I'm confounded because that solution wasn't even offered in this situation. And it seems like such an easy solution. And you know, if it had been another video, another situation, another script, and it had been about someone being disappointed and they were voicing disappointment because they wanted pizza, that would make sense. We'll get it another day. Or that person like, okay, whatever, maybe I'll order in tomorrow. But that wasn't anything at all to do with the content. And it got me thinking about how in life, as autists, our experience is very often that we are very clearly expressing ourselves, often repeatedly in conversation, and no one understands what we're saying. We are using the correct words. I am uncomfortable. I did lots of work for weeks to get comfortable with this plan that you made, and now you're changing the plan when I don't have time to get comfortable again or to prepare myself. And someone else in the room is like, listen, I clearly hear you saying that all you want is to have the pizza that you're excited by, right? it happens so often in real life, and I know the experience of it driving us crazy. I hear a lot of this in the autistic community, and I've been through this a lot myself. I'm like, I don't understand. Communication style is one thing, but in this moment, I'm just talking about all this other stuff. How are you hearing the wrong thing? The first thing is, I've always said, in case you don't know what's going on, I've always said this because it's extremely glaringly obvious for me. Autists and neurotypicals have extremely different communication styles. In fact, I'll go as far to say autists and allists, because people who are just any kind of not autistic sometimes just communicate differently. And where there's someone who's like, I've noticed a person, oh geez, I don't want to get in the subject matter. There's a whole thing that there's a lot of crossover between autism and ADHD, but that came from when people were getting diagnosed for something first, autism or ADHD, and the medical community just decided you can't be both. So if you're already diagnosed as autistic, you can never be ADHD. Now we clearly know, for whatever reason, now all of a sudden everybody knows that's not the case, and there are a lot of autistic ADHDers. I'm noticing that this imaginary crossover between autism and ADHD comes from that time frame when people believed things like you can't be both. And I've noticed that in my experience, an ADHDer who has no autistic traits communicates in a very non-autistic way. That makes sense. You're not autistic. You don't have that brain, so you communicate in the way that's natural to your own build. But when you're talking to someone who doesn't communicate in that way, we just are forthright and say what we mean. By nature, we can learn other things. In general, any human being should be able to learn another language. But as autists, we tend to learn how to speak in Aulist, and we tend to learn how to speak their language more so than they ever learn how to speak ours. So their language is encoding. That means that they say one thing but mean another one. And that's where we get a huge communication divide. So very often what's going on in life is, if you say, I'm upset because I had time to prepare for that and I was prepared, and now I don't have time to prepare for your brand new plans because you changed them on me too quickly. An holistic mind has been trained to think, this person claims to be upset, but even though I can see that they're upset, I know they can't be upset for the reason they're saying, because everything my entire culture has been teaching me since I was born is that you never say anything outright. You hide the truth inside of another message. So, the one thing I know in this moment is whatever they're saying, it can't be right. Okay, now a person could be mindful. It's very rare on this earth, by the way, but a person could be mindful and be able to think above that. Theoretically, any Aulist could look at an autist and know this person is just straightforward. If this person is saying these words, they mean that literally and not in the way that I think or that I previously believed. But most of the time people are going with the script, they're going with the pre-programmed format. So very often what's going on in a situation like this, where someone else is being very combative with you and telling you something that doesn't make any sense, writing off your point, acting like your level of upset doesn't matter or doesn't exist, they're not. First, the way they treat you, it doesn't matter why they're doing it. If you're getting harmed, your harm is valid. Now, on to my other point. Whether or not they're mindful of what they're doing, very often they're writing off our point because everything in their entire culture has taught them, no matter what this person is saying cannot be the real truth. So there must be something underlying it. That means as autists, when we're straightforward and we tell you exactly straightforward, so our words hit your ears, or our texts hit your inbox, or our sign language, whatever it is, whatever the communication language, right? I want to be inclusive. But there's so many different ways to communicate. I can't list them all. Whenever I give you a message, and I know that message hits you, I'm giving it to you straightforward so you get what I mean immediately, because that is convenient for us and that's our nature. It's always our nature, even if we learn another thing. It's just kind of how we're built. The problem is, culture teaches us to encode everything, but it just doesn't hit us properly. And so we often don't do that because it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel natural, and we have this thing where we just want to be honest, and other stuff doesn't feel honest. It feels like a waste of time, right? Just saying the wrong thing, hoping someone can go groping around in the dark and accidentally run into the truth. So we just have a tendency to default back to the way our brain works, which is just be straightforward. And these other individuals who are allistic, especially neurotypicals, are extremely susceptible to just accepting their own culture. It works for them. I don't know why this is. I'm sure there's a spiritual strength for everybody and a reason for it. And I haven't lived the neurotypical life, so I would really have to study this to get an idea of where it could be a good thing. When interacting with us, it seems like a very bad thing, but it's a language barrier. It is literally having what you are saying constantly lost in translation, because they accept this. The programming is out there for all of us, and we as autists tend to reject it, or we don't understand it, all that stuff I already said. But particularly neurotypical brains, for whatever reason, they learn what they are told, and they don't, like, the autistic way is like, why is it happening that way? It's more convenient this way. It's more straightforward. It's, less messy. It's more honest. But, what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient. It's more efficient to just communicate. But the neurotypical brain is just looking kind of at cause and result. So if they're trying to communicate and someone says, that's not how you do it, you say this instead, and the person will just kind of figure out what you mean. It's more polite. And, if you're a child and you ask why, they might be like, it's more polite, or it's just the way we do it. It works better that way. They don't necessarily have the same questions, because I think quite clearly one thing I've noticed is they're just looking at cause and effect. And so if the cause of something, if they're going for the effect of someone getting what they're saying or acquiescing, like if a neurotypical person is expressing an issue with a change in plans, and they want a certain outcome from that, they can express it in a way that another neurotypical person will tend to process, because that's in their language field. And so if the effect that they want is to get a particular reaction, they generally have been taught how to choose the language, how to say another thing, how to encode their real point in such a fashion that that new statement that they've created becomes the cause that leads to the effect of getting whatever outcome they're going for, of feeling heard. Or let's say it's something like in the comment section where they literally are just looking forward to pizza. And they're like, well, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. And then the other person who's in T, that's like, oh, you're encoding something. Okay, what could you mean under that? Well, let's say they assume what happened again in the comment section. Oh, you must be looking forward to pizza. How about this? We're not going to get the pizza today, but maybe we'll get it tomorrow or next Thursday. It's just a few days, and then you can choose where we go and what kind of pizza we get. Okay, now everybody's happy in that situation if it's really about that. Because that's how you communicate, where it's encoded. And maybe there might be a little bit more to it, because when you are taking the truth and burying it beneath a bunch of code, sometimes you have to try a few different times to get your real point across. I've learned how to speak this way, and it does, even for me, sometimes I have to try a few times to get my point across. But that's just an obvious quirk of the system. It's not always that hard. It very much is all happening according to a script. So if you know the exact lines to say, you tend to get, the outcome that you're going for. But as an autist in a situation like that, speaking like what was showcased in this video, and you're speaking to someone who doesn't think like you, the only thing they're thinking is, okay, culture says encode the real point. They're not even consciously aware of this, by the way. Excuse me. Most people are not consciously aware of communication or interpersonal relations, or most definitely anything sort of sympathetic or empathetic that has to do with another person's needs or desires. It's kind of amazing. I mean, on a spiritual level. It's kind of like brain versus mind, where brain is just what's happening inside of you. It's just whether or not you can speak that language or another one or communicate. And mind is like your connection to the spirit self that allows you to ascend beyond the physical and think another thing. So a lot of people with their brains have been taught, and they believe that they know and they're aware and they're very sympathetic, and they're really paying attention and they really get the other person's point. Like the person in the comment section smacks of somebody who believes that they have that and they get what was going on with the girl. I think their remark in saying, oh, she's just normal, like this isn't unusual, all of these people in all these videos, they're just normal, and you're throwing it out, and somehow for us it harms us, because while we've often been harmed being told that we're not normal all of our lives, we get to a place where we're like, wait, this doesn't fit what people call normal, it's a whole different thing, and I need to be seen for who and what I am. So if that thing that I am doesn't count as normal, that's what I need to get across. I need to explain that. I need accommodations and understanding as the kind of human being I am. So then someone comes along and tells you, no, you don't need accommodations. You're just normal like everyone else. And now all of a sudden that word is like a harpoon. It's not what you're going for anymore. It's actually now somehow a harmful attack that hurts. But I'm telling you, just so you could know inside of yourself, maybe we need to I made a video about this as a healing technique for us as artists again. Those words sound so similar. When I was a child, I used to say, I'm artistic, and it always came out like, I'm autistic. I was literally saying I'm autistic for decades before I knew it was true, because I was trying to say artistic, and it just came out sounding like a U instead of an R. It's absolutely insane. I can't believe the opposite just happened right now. That's so distracting and amusing. What I'm trying to say is, sometimes we end up dealing with a lot of stuff and we end up feeling a lot of bad feelings because of the way other people are treating us or communicating with us. Now, I don't know how the people who made this video felt about that kind of feedback. It's probably not new. And I don't know what, any of us are going through, but I know in my experience, when I have been told that I am something that I'm not, like it's an attack, or when I have been told that I am not something that I am, like it's an attack, sometimes I've internalized those feelings. Sometimes I've blamed myself for not being able to get my point across. At different points I believed I must not be very intelligent. I can't even express myself. Nobody ever understands me. Turns out I would end up finding later in my life it's the exact opposite. And it really is not about me not being smart enough to express myself. It was about having a language barrier. It's just a neural language. And in a certain way, it's a spiritual language, because I'm a person who has been gifted with and has chased after mind and my connection to who I truly am and something greater than just my physical perception of everything. And a lot of people only have their physical perception. So those people can watch a video where someone repeatedly says, I'm uncomfortable because I was prepared for the environment and the places and the facilities and what I need to be okay as a human being. And they can look at it, write all of that off and say, yeah, she just really wanted a pizza. She didn't mention the pizza at all. But that's what happens when you have your own physical perception. People can be extremely physically smart, like their brain can run numbers or figure out a path to drive to work, or they might even test out as some type of genius, but that's your brain. And then there's the level of thought that you have when you access your mind. Your brain is meat. It's an interface here. It does certain things. It has certain limitations. And for those of us who know, once you unlock your mind, or if you were born as someone who had that access for whatever reason, you know it's an entirely different thing. There are different kinds of smart, and there are people who are extremely smart in their brain's function, and they just don't have mind. So it's kind of like if you have a computer that has really good hardware in it, but you just need to run a program, and this program you don't have. The hardware can technically handle it, but no matter what you do, you can't get the computer to perform the needed function because it hasn't had that software installed.